All right. Welcome to the 171st episode of the World Blockchain Roundtable. Our hosts for today are Andrew Joseph, and I'm going to skip out to Zach Kaiser, also from, I'm blanking, the Right.
The Legacy
Right.
Right Legacy. Sorry. Legacy Right. Sorry. I'm tired. I'm very tired today. Also, Greg from Rivet, and I am or William from Den, and some other people might pop in, but if they pop in, we'll just add them and introduce them then. So first, quick update on the.
I think Lisa's backstage, Joe.
Oh shoot! See, there you go. Man, see, I didn't hear
There
it.
we
I'm
go.
sorry. And
I've
Lisa.
been here for quite a while.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was writing you notes. I wrote in the comments. I wrote in the private chat.
Failing as a host.
Anyway, that's okay. I heard you're really tired.
We
Your dog
need
kept you up.
John back. We need John back from the tunnels. Anyway, so, and Greg, I assume now will also come back. Real quick update on the Lair ownership tokens distribution from last week's episode. This is the first ever and maybe the only podcast which is a DAO, where governance is a big part of it for both the viewer and the panel. So last week, every host will receive 266 lot ownership. Every topic contributor 166 lot. Last week's theme was nominated by I Am, who will receive 166 lot. So these tokens come with the passive income inside of the Lair, free edits, and also governance votes, which is the most important part. Theme of this week is freestyle. And let's see here. I'm going to throw this up just so you can see episode 171. And that's everything. So what do we want to do? Because there was a scheduling issue where because it's a 5-week month, we accidentally got the 1st September show in the schedule. So there are some questions in here that were for it, which is history on the blockchain. Not history of, but history on the blockchain. So we're assuming that we're going to skip those questions, or at least bring them up as we ask, as they come up, and we can say, oh, let's, we can't.
Technically, within the bounds of freestyle, they still count.
True. They could get double points. I would be
Oh
willing to give them double points.
Oh, double pointage. That'd be pretty sweet. Okay. So should I just head straight down into questions?
Well, should we introduce our new friends, Zach and Andrew, and give a little background?
Although, give us a background. Tell us what Legacy Right is, what it covers, what you guys are about, who you have on, things like that. Whoever wants to.
Yeah. The Legacy Right is basically an anarchist podcast who we talk about different concepts of anarchism and political philosophies and economics.
Nice.
Fascinating.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
I've been on it once, and it was great fun. It's super interesting conversation, and really good hosts. So you guys were really, really polite, and it was very easygoing. You never know with people we haven't met before, right? Because I've gone on to shows and been trapped and ambushed before. So you always feel dumb when somebody somebody you because you're like, I should have checked into them, right? But these guys are all right. These guys are good.
Those would be cool if they
Sometimes.
had some advanced preparation from the message side. Like there was we're gonna throw this person into this situation and we're gonna ambush them. They won't know it, but the show's about that when it airs. Then that would make a lot more sense. But that's the only way you can really ethically do an attack show, I think.
Yeah, I don't think ethics was their strong point. It's strong point. It's like the page shields. It was the good old days of Bitcoin. Right before the fork, and yet when the bankers who were trying to take over Bitcoin were paying people to go and attack projects and do other things, is crazy weird stuff. Really, really weird. Don't look
Right,
up
ongoing
what it was.
ongoing stuff.
Yes. Okay.
You say bankers, I say feds.
Well, isn't it all the same?
Same.
It is.
Yeah, it's a pejorative to use that, and like,
There-
like calling somebody a banker is worse than calling somebody a lawyer now.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Oh man, there are other words you can call them too, but we won't go there.
Yeah.
I want to get banned. Okay.
Too much censorship.
Jacob Wayne. I see pictures of the kids. This is awesome. Now Jacob Wayne, is he in San Antonio?
Yes, he is.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right. So one thing I always think about is how it will be known that the historical information being fed to the blockchain will be accurate. So even though it's on chain, it could be bogus info. How will we read this information later to preserve our history? Perhaps more correct information on chain will outweigh the misinformation being loaded. You can even call this misinformation an attack on the chain. Picture below, newborn and family. As of a couple of weeks ago, congratulations on the newborn, Jacob. That's awesome. So I want to answer this because I have some very specific things. Because this is one of the things that they always bring up. Crap in, crap out. If you put bad stuff on chain, you're going to get bad stuff out. But this is one of the many reasons that, and I didn't have that up. Sorry about that. This is one of the many reasons that that we need scalability, and that's with Dragon Chain, that was the thing that we were really pushing for, because if your blockchain information, if the information is put on chain, is the result.
Mm-hmm.
If it's here is what happened, here is the sum total result, you can't necessarily trust it. It's just as well as, okay, it's written in a book and you have a book from 40 years ago. Did this book tell lies? Who knows? But
Almost certainly.
Because you have a blockchain, if it is scalable enough, and that's both technically scalable, like operationally, but also economically scalable. Can I put a transaction on this chain even if 1 billion other people are trying to? Right? That if you have something that's scalable enough like that, then you should put everything that is reasonable on chain, like every step in a process, or every step in historical events that lead to a conclusion, which can also be on chain. But that makes it significantly harder to fake that one event on chain. And still not impossible, but if you're doing it well enough, then and if it's defined well enough, if it's something discrete, like you get an award if you do all of these things, that all of those things should be on chain. You shouldn't just be, you did all the things, you got the award.
Right. The default, you should have at least a decent picture of the default settings that matter in a social organization, depicted in the model that you put on chain, I think.
And then the second layer,
it's sort of like every chain needs an immutable change log that can be mathematically proven to be not tampered with.
And then the second layer is bounties and things like prediction markets that can also be applied to important data on a chain, where people can give consensus that, yes, I saw it with my own eyes, that's true, that's real, right? And
that would go into the reputation model that you guys built on DIN, correct?
Right. Yep. So anyway, that was my answer. Like I said, I'm very tired, so apologies if I talk too much. I'll try to talk less. That's what I'm trying to do. Anybody else want to hit that?
Wow.
This is related to dictionary changes. Like
right. No, I'm thinking about the data structure you want to put this in. It's kind of a weird segue, but you wouldn't really want to do like a token embedding that looked like a modern AI token embedding where they just break down words. Mm-hmm. You'd probably want to use some kind of like high dimensional topographical feature that you make iterative modifications to, right? Like a Verneuil diagram or something where you translate the points. Sorry, I don't mean to go like all nerd on everybody, but
so what do you mean? What do you mean?
The idea occurred.
It's for
you could capture. So the problem that you have, I think, with let me bring this back down to earth. The problem you have with these types of systems is who writes the truth then. And to solve that problem, you would need to store an immensely complex set of relationships in one iteration of the whole lexicon for the thing you're tracking, right? It would create sort of a systemic oversimplification of history to do it wrong.
I don't know. I mean, I think I would do it in a much more passive way. That there is no quote unquote right or wrong. It's this happened or this didn't happen, and this really did happen or this really didn't happen, right?
Yep. Or like some percentage of the population
validated
believed this happened in parallel to all the other variants, and you could see all the states, right?
The different stories.
Everybody's got a different,
perspective.
Maximally rich layered thing of parallel stories would be ideal for history.
It'd be like if we all had cameras at that Trump rally where he was shot, right? And every one of those is a different angle on the thing that happened, right? And yes, you would want all of those up on chain because when in the future some explanation of what really happened comes up, you can then verify more easily with something that's known, true, or known.
I just wonder if it would move I just wonder if it would move the politics of history to the point at which the chain and the sense inputs interface, right? Like that's where people would game shit.
Here's the thing. The thing that it would change, and the reason this is probably more important than a lot of people think, and that's, by the way, next week's topic, that is because throughout history, the victor writes the history, right? And so we don't have an accurate, real history. We have a lot of lies, some truths, and who knows what. It ends up being the best storyteller is kind of, and it's weird when you get far enough forward that a lot of things that the culture at the time thought of as evil isn't really evil, considered evil anymore. And that Hannibal is not what the Romans, it's like, oh, Hannibal, okay,
right. I mean, Galileo was placed under lockdown for the rest of his life for his ideas, right? And we know them not to be true. Did you imagine like permanent lockdown? Congratulations.
Yeah,
that would suck.
Yeah, well, Socrates was killed for it, right? So, but they still didn't hurt him. That's the beautiful thing. They didn't harm him. Anyway,
I would like to interject something.
Yes.
An archaeological dig, sometimes they find more information when they start doing a dig in their junk pile or trash heap, and they learn more about the community, their culture, this kind of thing, what they ate, what they discarded. And if you fast forward into time and you look at it, everything is preserved on a blockchain. And then they're parsing through it. And what we discarded as some stupid TikTok video, of so-and-so, dancing, who later becomes a significant person in history, when you're uncovering all of this, it would be kind of like going through that trash heap and finding out what this person said or didn't say at a particular point in time. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's what's interesting. But I think the biggest part that, and the other thing is, I don't know, some of you have probably heard of Urban Dictionary, and it's kind of fun to read.
Excellent.
How words are changed, language, changes with culture and age groups and this kind of thing. It's interesting to preserve that. But I think the biggest part, other than someone stole the thunder about, history is written by the victors, X has community notes, and it's great because the community can point out what's fact or not fact, fiction or malinformation or misinformation,
and also endlessly shoot down people who are trying to squeeze their comments in there.
But I gotta plug din.social.
Community notes is not fun, but
din.social does it far better. It just doesn't have the numbers to show and prove it up to society yet.
Right.
It's
Well, and it
it's
just needs really better filtering, right? It's not
Yeah.
that things shouldn't be broadcast to everybody who's willing to hear them. It's people should be able
right.
to tune out anything they want.
Right. So, din.social can parse through that information with a larger audience and determine what is true and what isn't. But the information is still there. It's still present, still written on a blockchain. So, the archaeologist in the future could go back through and parse through the din.social and say, wow, the crowd got it 99% accurate. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of the things I wanted to mention. Now I'm really excited about this show next week, so we can dive deeper into the subject. But there you go.
Well, if anybody else wants to say anything, let me know. We have a clip that we can play. That
I'll just
particularly
I just want to add one thing before we leave this conversation. Anybody who commented, who questioned at all, and is interested in having additional questions for next week, I'm really interested in how you would stop the political gamesmanship that would take place at the new interface between mutable and immutable, that we would sort of have to deal with, and how getting it, how we design that, those kinds of questions. Bring them on.
Good.
So
I'd like to interject on that one.
Yes.
Like, it's about decentralization, right? So politics, whether it's politics, crypto, I mean, like with crypto, in order to beat the big block during the Civil War days, like, what do? You fork. So Bitcoin Cash came about in order to kind of play off of Bitcoin's hijacking, right? So that's how you play it off, is like, you want to have that different series of information coming out there so you can compete against each other. So
open is an open source, basically.
Well, isn't it interesting?
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting too? Because you have Bitcoin Cash, and others, right? That they can only control what they can control, and you can look at what they can control, and that is the marketing around it, the media around it, and then the integration into the banking world, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the weird thing that's where Bitcoin shines? Is in the very things it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
When you think about open source too, like, even institutions would not be able to argue reasonably with the idea that they ought to just contribute to the projects if they want them to go a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's interesting.
Yep.
Not that we should have institutions doing that, but or at least some of them should not be permitted to do that, probably.
You guys had mentioned archaeology earlier. It's really like when what people do in projects is concentrated, and eventually, it, like you said, go back and look at it. But after it's concentrated, and nobody, it's a dime a dozen. Nobody really cares because they're on to the next thing. People who are interested in seeing how the law worked at the time can go back and say, okay, this worked, this didn't work. How can we improve this? And there's no censorship, so I think it's very effective.
Yep.
And I can remember. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just remember several years ago, just messed around on Linux, trying to go back into find an Internet Explorer package for Linux from the 90s and how hard it was. But with blockchain technology and stuff like that down the road, that that would be a lot easier for people to like, okay, hey, I can just draw it right here, right now, and it's not like you had to go to obscure archives.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and you would know it was the right source too, because if you're trying to pull down software from back then, it's like, how many times are you really pulling down what you intend to pull down? It's going to be
you can pull time data out of it. Is a really powerful, reliable time data out of it.
The time pieces, and things like this. So this is, and I don't know how to pronounce this, but I keep seeing stuff on Twitter about this site, which is, I think, in Turkey, and it's a very controversial thing because it's an an incompleted dig, whatever you'd say. It hasn't been fully exposed. They know there's a lot of other stuff down there, and they planted trees over it. And like all the archaeologists are saying, that if you plant trees, it destroy stuff.
Yeah, it's basically like a slow creeping like root collapse of it, right?
Yeah.
It's just gonna all get chopped up.
So, and there's a bunch of
ridiculous.
interesting, technology questions about what was done and the dating and everything else. And
I mean, at least finish the dig first.
Yeah, if we had if we had blockchain, 9,000, I guess 11,000 years from now, you wouldn't need to have these controversies because you could just go back and see what somebody tweeted.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry.
It's weird that we don't have good enough ground penetrating radar to image that kind of stuff without excavating it. Seems like a thing that we ought to have better of.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
Or they do, and they just don't tell you.
Yeah, that's probably true.
They already have that. Yeah.
It's an interesting
it's probably paywalled research. You're right.
Yeah. It's an interesting site. I think there's a now sister site that was discovered that was also buried and appears to be buried on purpose as well. And it is older than Gobekli Tepe. I can't. From what I
is that how you pronounce it, man?
Extra lot for I am for pronouncing it.
Yes. Yes. That was
It's really fascinating. I like that stuff. But I also grew up in northern Arizona and would go to the Anasazi ruins and hike around there and shoot. My elementary school had pottery on the playground. I remember as a kid picking
it's kind of weirdly like the place I grew up. We had a inland sea in Paleolithic times during or in the particular place I'm located or was located when I was growing up, and we could find shark's teeth alongside the arrowheads from the natives that used to live there.
So they used to. The sharks were hunting fish with bow and arrow back then. Anyway, I'm going to do this. Here's the other thing related to history and blockchain, also fitting. And this though is very topical because apparently Gavin Newsom of California is threatening to make AI what do you want to say parodies illegal if they're related to election, which is crazy. But who knows? They'll probably do it, right? And so Elon had posted this, and there's some, this is some pretty funny stuff in the public discourse, right? And here's the thing: if they weren't freaking idiots, they would say, okay, here's how we're going to do this. I mean, you have to sign it from, so you would know if something wasn't signed from the campaign that it wasn't from the campaign, right?
Right,
So,
but you don't stop the other free
you don't
speech.
stop the others, right? And that gives them the ability to prove this is what we're saying. That's fake, right? Sure.
And also it's obviously fake. Like anybody who looks at it will see that and go like, there's no way that's real.
So I'm going to play it.
Like, are we really that worried about what people with IQs to the left of potatoes are thinking?
Yeah.
Left of potatoes. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and play it, all right? Tell me if you can't hear it, because I'll be able to hear it here, all right?
I, Kamala Harris, am your Democrat candidate for president because Joe Biden finally exposed his senility at the debate. Thanks, Joe. I was selected because I am the ultimate diversity hire. I'm both a woman and a person of color. So if you criticize anything I say, you're both sexist and racist. I may not know the first thing about running the country, but remember, that's a good thing if you're a deep state puppet. I had 4 years under the tutelage of the ultimate deep state puppet, a wonderful mentor, Joe Biden. Joe taught me rule number 1, carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time, and there is such great significance to the passage of time.
Another trick is trying to sound black. I pretend to celebrate Kwanzaa, and in my speeches, I always do my best Barack Obama impression.
So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
And okay, look, maybe my work addressing the root causes of the border crisis were catastrophic, but my knowledge of international politics is truly shocking.
The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. It is an alliance that is strong and enduring.
And just remember, when voting this November, it is important to see what can be unburdened by what has been. And by what has been, I mean, Joe Biden. You think the country went to over the past 4 years? You ain't seen nothing yet.
Cackles.
Wow.
Pretty good, right?
Wow.
It's pretty
I was
toasty.
That's pretty good.
The best part
Oh.
is that they use the difference between fake and real for anybody who's been paying attention as
Yes.
an additional joke.
Some of
Right,
those
like
were real.
most of the clips after you started hearing directly from her were not modified in
Right.
using generative AI. They were just cut in clever places.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. I don't know.
What's sad is somebody out there is going to believe all of this to be truth.
Yep.
I, I feel like getting on the internet is sort of like getting in the boxing ring. You know, you take on a
Exactly.
little bit. You take on a little bit of personal responsibility for the damage done.
Mhm.
You know, like if you get your nose broken, you can't sue the other boxer if you already climbed in the
Yeah.
ring. If you get on the internet,
Exactly.
right? You know,
Mhm.
expect it.
Well, I mean, and back to the Newsom thing. Like, if Newsom thinks he can take all this down and get laws passed, I mean, good luck. Good luck, because I mean, there's a case that kind of allows all this. It's Citizen
Plus, the jokes would
United.
go on and on,
Plus
man.
the-
I don't
yeah,
think he could
plus the
endure it.
joke. Yeah, I don't think he could. Well, he might be. He's evil enough to probably endure it.
Yeah. No, it's just like the Britain's war against against Pepe, right? I
Humor's
mean,
the greatest weapon against them, man. In my
Mhm.
opinion.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it has to be funny. It has to be funny. That's how you win.
Yep.
Mhm.
The
Yep.
internet.
Yep.
Yep.
And all those
The
memes need to be
success of Russell
preserved.
Brand.
Yes.
All of those memes need to be preserved on
Yes.
a blockchain. Damn
They
it!
do.
Yep.
They do.
My spoon is too big.
Yeah, we're failing. Yeah. Okay.
But we still have like a sort of fuzzy record, right? Like we can probably, I know we can use a generative AI to train sort of the ironing out of history into the model, so we can ingest the past and just put an asterisk on it. We can get the whole internet. We just have to put a big fat asterisk on it. This has been resolved to make sense by a generative model.
Here you go. I'll use some strategy. Maybe it was Newsom's PR team, because even bad publicity is good publicity. Maybe it was his PR team that said, you need to get in front of this, because now you'll become a target. And all of these AIs are going to generate, ridiculous
That's
memes and
probably
videos
smart.
of Newsom.
He wasn't in that the recent one where they had Trump, they had the Pope, they had Kamala, they had Biden, they had Zuckerberg, they had
The dancing one?
no, where they all were committing armed robbery, one at a time, and then being arrested.
yeah.
Did you see that one?
With Hillary. Hillary
Yeah.
was in it.
Hillary was in there too. Yeah,
Obama.
Mhm.
Yeah, Obama was in there. Yeah, and Newsom wasn't. That's probably why he's wanting to ban them, because it'll get him. They'll include.
Oh, its most compelling use case in language is generative satire. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, look at
It was the
what's
first
his
thing they
name?
made it so you couldn't do.
I'm drawing a blank. Stewart, the political show where he was talking about the DNC, about Bernie, and we hate billionaires, and then a billionaire spoke,
Yeah.
and then
Next.
have you seen that one?
No.
Oh, what's his name? Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart
Yeah.
show.
Mhm.
And then
Really?
he said something about pedos that were not anti-pedo, and then he had Clinton on the screen.
No.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
it was like
They said
wow, it was
he said sexual assault victims or
there you
something
go.
like that,
That's
or
what-
something about sexual assault, and then they popped up Clinton.
Jeez.
yeah, and this was on Jon Stewart's show talking about the
At least he wasn't getting into fucking with the internal structure of a free society.
Right.
Like
I don't know.
I'd rather have a pervert than a Machiavellian.
What's the difference?
Well, I mean,
Both are evil.
the pervert can just have entirely banal ends, right?
Yeah, well, I
Far
think
more likely to engage in personal corruption than state crimes against democracy.
Well, here you go. This is a question for everyone, and you can pass if you like. Is government inherently evil, or is government inherently good?
The answer is yes.
government.
That's a
I mean,
narrow
I
question.
think it's. Yeah, I don't know. I would think by default evil. I don't know. Theoretically, it wouldn't have to be evil, but
The human frailty of power consuming and becoming a lust for power, a drug.
If it was actually the servanthood that it's supposed to be, that it's intended to be, or
And
that
that's
we're
why-
told that it is, it
Yeah.
would be good. But we know that it's manipulated and used to enslave all of us through these evil.
Right.
Yep. And that's
Well,
that's where all the lies are. That's where they lie about our history. Yeah.
We allow ourselves to give up our own authority. If we actually utilize that governance to fulfill like community structure, then we can have a government. There's nothing wrong with the government, but it becomes evil when you allow for man to be corrupt, and man's corrupt. So, I mean, it's inevitable that the government's going to become too large and too tyrannical.
Well, and there's no such thing as voluntary exit, right? You can't take your chips off the table and leave if things are going the wrong way, right? Like that would be the response. Like right now, instead of people fleeing to Florida, you'd have people flooding some country that had a political system that a flood of immigrants could take over, right? If we could get free exit, but we don't have that right. You know, we can't pick up our things and move. Even if we want to.
If there were a competition with, let's say, constitutions, right, or governance mechanisms, right, and it wasn't forced geographically, right, that if you could live anywhere and say, you know what, I'm going to pay taxes to that group because I believe what they're doing, and I'm going to participate in that constitution because it's good and it's has
right, or this subsystem of whatever. Like you could try a new organization system. Hell, communists could all get together and try it if they wanted to. In a situation where there was free exit by structure, you know.
Sounds good. I'm going to North Korea. Dear leader.
Yikes. The space photo.
I think you missed the free exit.
It would be really
part.
dark at night. You can see a lot of stars there.
Kamala says we have an alliance with them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Kamala said we have an alliance with them.
So that part of the video was real. I thought that was also like AI.
I don't know.
No. The clips at the end were all clips of her that were unedited except for cuts. Like they clipped them, but that was it.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
The video just sort of framed what the content presented very cleverly.
That's insane.
She's going to be the first non-black president, female president. I'm just joking. Sorry.
Congratulations, Jacob Wayne, on your new addition to the family.
Yes.
Awesome. Beautiful baby. Happy wife and sweet little other one.
Look at that. Okay, let's see here.
What is this?
This is just this is him.
He's got some time on his hands.
Yes, that's good. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, there are a lot of good episodes in the past too. So okay, Dayrocks. Congratulations. Oh, sorry.
Everyone's replying.
This is still a reply.
I think we need to give the baby a lot for those this content.
The baby needs an email.
Baby needs an email.
Yes. Question: how do you determine what is an historical event? And how do you determine what is the truth? And when you guys say the word history, do you use a or an in front of history? I'm going to ask you guys that.
I pronounce the H because I am not from some sub-district of the city of London.
Yeah.
It's not even that. I do not know why, but no matter where it's written, it's always an history. It's so strange. Even I was a history major, and it was always like, okay, all right, it's an history. All right,
an history, governor, right? That kind of thing.
Anyway,
that sounds like a Marxist concept to trick you. But
it does.
It really does.
Maybe. Anyway, here's my thing. I don't think you determine what is a historical event. I think maybe the threshold is it was worth someone going to the effort getting it on chain. and therefore it it is an event, and whether it is significant or not is the real question, right? I don't know what you guys think.
I'll
think
just say
only the
again, like
past,
significance can be determined later. Like, someone
Yes,
who's
exactly.
a 16-year-old doing a ridiculous TikTok video and at 35 becomes president.
Yes, and I think it's necessarily
That's
it
scary.
is required that the significance is decided. I used to always think it needs to be decided by a generation after the death of the generation that lived at that time is the best way to do that. But
I can
Anybody
imagine
else?
Is that the whole
I
saying?
mean-
Future proofs past.
I don't know. I don't know about those things.
Sounds
Good
like
one.
it.
imagine
Very scary.
emotional attachment plays an element in it as well. So,
Yes, that's why people
good.
remember stuff, and it's also the reason that it can be faked, as so many things have been, even in our current. What are you gonna say?
Right. I mean, we don't have any real capacity to say we know the truth with any confidence at this point. Is the scary part, right? It's not so much about admitting to certain states being ascertained perfectly, right? It's more about admitting how much of the knowledge space is speculative, and that's a scary fact to face in honest reality for a lot of people. Right. I think that's ultimately the fear that gets preyed upon by these parasites that happen to matriculate to the candidacy career. So like the career politicians tend to just be the scummiest scam artists because we're asking for that. We're saying let's have a popularity contest and decide who runs the country. It's as far as systems of government go, it's kind of ridiculous in this day and age.
Democracy. Yep.
Here's another one that it has to do with time. Look at how to determine what is truth. Look at how people have been released from prison after DNA evidence showed that they were innocent. In fact, innocent. So truth came out, decades later. So sometimes technology can lend itself in a way to determine truth at a future point. So it makes it difficult. I think it's more important to capture everything.
Right.
And be in that mode of, let's try to capture all historical events, even if we don't think they're historical at this point in time, and they may never become historical, but let's capture everything so that maybe we can then consolidate some information and determine what is true and not true, or predominantly true, or something to that effect. I think that's probably, but it is true. The victor, gets to determine that, right?
Right.
Social
Well, maybe
media,
not if we do it right, though.
right. They censor data, so they censor users, and they push a certain narrative, which is their truth.
What if every official act were tracked in an event? Like when we talk about putting history on chain, what we're really talking about is automating government in such a way that every official act it takes goes onto a public record that it can't alter.
It should. Imagine if cops show up and if everything were on chain and they had to have their the camera on chain. You would know when something was up, and if it was actually on chain, it would be beautiful because the community could actually follow up and say, "Hey, why is this guy turning his camera off at this?" It's like there's some reason for it.
Every recording session needs to compose a single block, or a single transaction. You need to do like a roll up, basically, of a single day from a single person with their body cam, if you wanted to do it that way. But also mandatory body cams for politicians if we're going to have them.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say that.
Yeah.
I mean, that roll up to a
blockchain.
Yeah.
So
There's actually a project that's doing something similar to that. That talked to me about looking into it or something. I haven't heard anything from them for a while, but they were talking about using started in sports arenas, I guess, and people were all, filming and whatever, different perspectives, points of view, whatever. And then they could get paid for by like news stations and whatever for their video and their whatever experience or perspective. And he was talking about doing it with like news stories or out in just for that validation and like real time. Like if some of these things that they've told us have happened, where were the cameras? Why, when JFK was shot, was there only one camera? How many perspectives are there of the Trump shooting?
Certainly more than we have access to, right?
Certainly more than than the one vision that we're showed all the time.
Yeah. And stuff that you didn't know about Zapruder, and that he was filming because he knew it was going to happen. Look that up. It's like that's the craziest damn thing that I've learned in the past year. So anyway,
you can do a little bit of interesting prediction of chaos with some neat compute techniques. So you could hypothetically, for instance, if you know a fire started, start trying to predict which direction it's going to head, for example. Those kinds of things might be plausible in the same way it's plausible for us to have advance warning of thunderstorms. Those sorts of uses of data might be interesting to focus on, maybe at first.
So let me ask you guys this: how many, even that? So anecdotal, even in your own knowledge from just seeing headlines, in the news in the past 10 years, how many murders and or rapes have occurred on Facebook? Live, streamed live, right?
No, okay. I thought you were asking how many actually occurred on the digital platform, as in, does the medium have any right? Well, no. Or does anyone have any right to blame the medium for what people are using it for?
Well, no. Here's the thing. Here's the other thing. Instagram. Who was it? It was one of the shooters. Some false flag, MK Ultra shooter. I don't know which one it was. Posted their manifesto. It was posted onto Infinity Chan. Infinity Chan was taken out so freaking quickly because they wanted to kill it, and yet the person who posted it there had pulled it down from Instagram, if I understand correctly. And so essentially Instagram had no issue whatsoever, but Infinity Chan was taken out. It was obvious that they did that to take out Infinity Chan. But it's an interesting thing, isn't it, that Zuckerberg he's not been arrested in France for the child trafficking or any of the other things that happen on Facebook. But that's what they're claiming Durov has done. I don't know. I like Telegram. I've used it since probably 2016. So I started using it because of crypto, but
it's all political. It's all political.
This is another, guys. This is another Julian Assange. This is a moment where we need to say no to this on the grounds of precedent. Like the precedent they would freaking set if they get this, regardless of whether or not it's just they started there. If we let them do this, then they're going to do it to everybody. I mean, it won't be long before Mark Zuckerberg's in there, right? Won't be long before they start coming after the CEOs of other companies. If we just let them start,
I think you're seeing.
Yeah, no. This will literally be an obey the agenda or get extradited to a foreign country and try to undo their free speech laws.
Yeah, Zuckerberg will never be arrested for this. Why is that?
Probably.
Really?
Yeah, probably not.
Why is that?
Telegram's in a lot of senses a bigger platform, though.
Okay, I'm telling you, Zuckerberg is not going to be arrested for very specific reasons. Yeah. The same reason that what's that? Same reason that the guys at Google will never be arrested. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he won't be arrested because he gives them a back door.
So.
Yeah.
Well,
they give them a back door,
and there are other reasons too. But yeah.
I see. There was I believe it was our U.S. State Department that was also pushing for Pavel's arrest.
Francis Five Eyes, just like the UK.
And so there was also Mike Benz was interviewed very quickly here by just yesterday by Tucker Carlson about this very issue, and now he has been released but I think he must stay in France. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had to put up a $5 million bond.
Right.
Like that. It was insane.
Well, I have to tip my hat to the UAE because they were the ones that gave actual pushback to France, canceled a $10 billion jet fuel and jet
I didn't know that.
contract with France. So, salute them for, sticking up for Pavel and free speech. Who would have thought the UAE would be in, stepping up and, crossing that line in the sand, because our State Department obviously was pushing France to do this, and France being NATO nation and this kind of thing, they're all over it. They did not like that the information regarding Gaza and the information regarding Ukraine was counter to the Western ideology and talk about truth, their lies and disinformation. They didn't like it that Telegram was putting out both sides, and anyone could go back and view it and come to their own conclusions and their own realizations.
But Telegram wasn't doing any such thing, right? They were literally just building an efficient platform for digital direct messaging.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and to build in the kinds of controls that they want, it would actually sort of reframe the whole concept in a way that wouldn't work with the underlying protocol technology. Like it would make it all kludgy and slow to as they would imagine it.
Well,
it's literally the opposite of what a company doing that job should be.
But what
doing.
matters, though, is what content has found home on these platforms. The same reason TikTok was.
But it's like a weird form of vicarious liability that I think we ought to be really suspicious of.
Yeah. All I gotta say is with this, I mean, if you're on Telegram, back up everything, just in case, because you never know what might happen because of this.
True.
Well, the good thing is you can tell the dude's kind of an idealist, and his brother's really the tech guy, and he's probably just as much, if not more so, of an idealist. So,
but here's
those guys are definitely going to fight the good fight all the way to the end. The question is what happens after they inevitably lose.
I hope so, Greg. However, remember, Telegram is completely centralized. It is centralized with those two.
Right, and this is the
let me finish. Let me finish. That centralization did give them strength. It's one of the reasons what they learned from that, from moving from Russia and out of Russia. So, and that's funny too, because Russia came to bat for him as well. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is that the governments of this world are picking winners and losers, and to hell with free speech, to hell with citizen reporting, and all of those things. They want a narrative pushed down the throat of everybody, and the mindless, ignorant will believe it, and they want any kind of dissenting opinion squashed. And so who knows what they're capable of doing. They could torture. Now, like it or not, Pavel has 100 children, 100 kids. He has fathered 100 kids. I don't know if many know this, but
he's doing his part, man.
He could be tortured. There could be all kinds of threats that are being made, and because it is centralized,
he's a single point of failure.
Yeah,
I'm 100% with you there. This is the problem with centralized platforms isn't that they're inevitably going to be always corrupt, right? It's that as soon as somebody isn't corrupt, anybody who needs them to be will come after them with guns.
Neutrality always comes at a premium.
Yeah, and we do need to bring up too, though, that when we talk about this, so it's like, if Telegram was decentralized, but would it be any more decentralized than Bitcoin? I mean, what did you do? Bitcoin's decentralized. It's like, what did they do to Bitcoin?
One development team.
Yeah, one development team, and a lot of and you even look at the makeup and how it's controlled. It's very archaic, right? So
makes you wonder if Bitcoin was created by feds.
I think it was. Now, maybe not in the basis, but
not in the basis, but
like, how do I say this? that the curves. I think the curves are probably controlled. I think that
I don't know.
that they could crack any Bitcoin address if they wanted.
It had all the hallmarks though
Yeah.
of like the cypherpunk crowd around
Oh, it did.
around the
Yeah.
East Coast, especially the East
Yeah.
Coast cypherpunks, like the
But if you read some of
original
the,
East Coast cypherpunks that maybe worked for the NSA and quit. The Bill Binney types, those guys probably built
Yeah.
this.
I don't mean to shamelessly
They probably
plug-
didn't do so at the behest of the government. I don't think that's probably true.
No.
I don't
But
mean
I do
to
think they probably
shamelessly
built it.
plug Litecoin Lisa and I. We did a show on Monday about eGold and the tokenization of eGold, which was pre-blockchain and pre-Bitcoin, obviously, in Satoshi. Now, the gentleman who was the primary creator and founder of it, brilliant man, he didn't learn his lesson, even though the government and Secret Service came in and shut him down. But the point I was trying to make here is that he was actually interacting with the cypherpunks in an advertising effort, which was kind of funny, pre-Bitcoin. So I think they were watching what happened to him and really helped push them into the arena of, more anonymous style or pseudonymous transactions, as well as decentralization, because eGold was centralized and eGold was definitely a threat. And that makes me think that possibly the CIA was looking at this and saying, whoa, we got a problem here. This thing is taking off, even though it's more centralized vault, but it was in currency. So if Joe was transacting in dollars and I'm in, Mexico transacting in pesos, he and I communicated I'll buy your item for 3 grams of gold. And so we were communicating in gold language. We weren't communicating in any kind of currency. And it was a backed currency. And they couldn't have that. And I think that was both inspiration for Satoshi as well as inspiration of what not to do, because what happened to him.
Partly true, yeah, for sure. I also think that there was some independent work going on in these types of data structures. I think these guys weren't necessarily trying to build a currency until they saw the use case. They were trying to build this element of what would be needed to build digital cash and make it decentralized, and they didn't realize that they were going to easily build the whole thing once they figured that out.
Well, the question is, were they thinking in terms of currency and then a database behind it? Or were they thinking in terms of a database and then, let's convert this?
They started off in the 90s on the cypherpunk mailing list thinking about it from first principles. So the whole thing sort of follows through all the way. And you can go track sort of all the people talking about what it should be capable of doing and what that entails for what the data structures need to look like. And then back to how do you assemble this thing using open source technology today. And then you get to the ultimate publication of it, right? Like they were problems that they solved, I think, in more of a generational engineering project mindset to get there, would be my guess.
What's your thoughts, Joe? Do you think they were thinking in terms of currency first or database first?
I mean, some of the tech side, all the crypto is, it's good. It's using the technical capabilities as logic tools, logic puzzles, where you assemble them different ways to do different things. And a lot of the early stuff that I had watched way back was related mostly to encrypted and signed messaging. And how do you get some level of proof that this key is really the person you think it is, and all those types of systems.
Right. And do it in a way that's scalable was the sort of an additional wrinkle, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. There are also some things that they still don't know why Satoshi did a couple of things in his design that would not have been expected.
Efficient.
Well, efficient, yes, but also there's why there. I can't remember. There's one part, one particular piece where he hashed something twice, and it was always why, But then later it was found out that there was an unknown weakness in one of the crypto algorithms. And I almost guarantee to you that's because he had knowledge of a 0-day that would have prevented it working well once that was finally realized. And so,
might not have even been a 0-day. It might have been just like an obscure but common bug with a particular open source library.
Wasn't
like
that.
something that people knew wasn't rolled back in.
No, it wasn't an open source library issue. It was an issue with the cryptography itself. And so that's
right,
why it's
right. If you read through that and you don't just import the crypto library, then you're at least working pretty advanced.
So do you think if it was a team of people in the CIA or whatever, whomever, a team of people versus one primary person, don't you think it would have been better than it is?
No, well, no, actually. You're talking
No.
government people? No.
Government
I
workers.
think it was a
yeah.
great first version. Honestly, it was meant to be forked.
Well, but it was still pretty loose and pretty. And here's the thing: if it was them, why did they do it? That's the interesting question.
To build the life raft to force everybody into complete observation by them. So there's a theory that they created it, and then because they knew the dollar was dying, the Fed, this experiment can't go on forever, and so they wanted to create the ultimate observation. Get rid of all of our privacy completely. And if you think about what Bitcoin is, and they tout it as freedom money, but it's really the most, it's very transparent. You will go walk down the street naked. Everyone sees your address. Everyone sees your transactions, all of that. And so if they build it and then at the right time, they offer the crisis and the solution, and then we're all under surveillance. That's that satanic.
I wish I could ascribe that much
Bitcoin.
that much long range vision to these people, but I think it's their lack of that characterizes the way the world has been steered.
I hope so.
Well, you could say that about the Senate and the House and the president. I don't know if you can.
No, I mean the way the world has been steered hasn't even gone the way of the
CIA
people who seem to want to imprison us all.
I think the CIA and the NSA and a few other of the Intel superstate are like Bene Gesserits. I do think they have some pretty freaking far flung.
They might have superpowers, but they probably don't know how to use them to any ends that they're actually trying to seek, because they think they can just go direct at everything, right?
I don't know.
It's the curse. It's the curse of having the Imperial Army, right? You never think about the fact that sometimes you need to sneak around the sidewall rather than engage in full frontal assault on.
I don't think they give a shit about that, Greg. I think they're.
I'm just saying, like, it doesn't fit the pattern.
They're entirely fine with blood sacrifice, which is their main objective in the world. Is blood sacrifice. Whatever the fuck they get from it, I don't know. I don't believe in that stuff, right? But they believe in something, and that's why they do what they do.
I think maybe the belief
right?
is an automation. The belief is sort of an automatic behavior, like a reflex of a pathology built into the system itself.
Function.
Like it's just devolving despite people, maybe even with the help of people's best efforts to be good.
Yeah. Well, the blood sacrifice idea kind of makes a little sense, because if you go back into history, I mean, look at all the ruling classes and parties of all of our ancient brethren. I mean, the Aztecs, I mean, they would literally offer up a virgin young girl, I mean, and rip her heart out, I mean, and eat it.
And that tradition came from an evolution on the Maya, right? Where they would literally just chop people's heads off until the
and modern days. I mean, I would have never known what the hell Moloch was except for WikiLeaks, right? WikiLeaks introduced Moloch to the modern world. Isn't that odd? So anyway,
they're all worshiping a gigantic owl in the middle of a grove in Northern California.
That's the creepiest thing.
Weird. So what do you think is going to happen to Pavel?
Maybe he'll pay his way out. I mean,
he's up in the air, man.
He's
not in prison right now. If he were smart, he'd flee the country.
Yeah. I think he's going to take 2 shots to the back of the head. Suicide. Unalived, excuse me.
Yeah. He's too close to where McAfee got it for my comfort.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Spain and France. I don't know.
Spain and France.
France may not be as obvious a puppet of the empire, but I think it still is.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. With all the child slave labor that they use in Africa, and they've stolen all of their resources all these years. Just horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And France is losing that. Now they're losing their uranium source for all their nuclear power plants. So they've got some desperate actions, and I'm sure Telegram's not helping them with that fight. It's working against them. So just as an example, I don't know what's going to happen. I fear for his life, his family's life, his brother's life. I fear for them, and I fear that the world would be a worse place without Telegram, and they know that. They know that it's an oppositional voice that they're unable to control, they're unable to suppress, and they'll go to great lengths to try to, maybe that's the key. They can't take Pavel out or his brother because it's kind of like the what did McAfee have, the safe switch? Maybe they can't take him out because there's some kind of safe
He may have a security file. That's a good point.
I hope so.
I mean, he does holy shit, actually, when you think about it, Telegram for a long time was not super encrypted. And France has used Telegram in their government for basically ever since there's even public record of Macron being obsessed with it. Like, he uses it for himself. Yeah. It's like, if you want to get a hold of him and you call him, it's probably on Telegram. So think about all of the data he must have on their government officials. He's probably going to be just fine.
Like McAfee. McAfee had a lot of that data on government officials too.
Yeah, but this is structured over time in conversations, and the content's all there, right?
Find out where if we see the building that his servers are in go down, we'll know.
Or just every server gets wiped all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back up, everybody watching this. Back up your data on Telegram. Back up other people's data on Telegram if possible.
Put it
back up the truth that it's being
screenshots too of the really important ones.
Yeah, put it in a Faraday cage. I will say that I did download the entire library. Was it the Gutenberg? And then there's another one too. I need to look at the one that you shared a week ago, Greg, or 2 weeks ago, because it had some books that were banned that aren't even on Gutenberg and you can't buy them on Amazon. And so I put all of these text-based books onto thumb drives and in a Faraday cage. So when the nukes go off, I'll still have those. I have some paper ones too, right?
Hell yeah. No,
are they recreational nukes?
Livegen.is.
Yep, I'm going to put it right here.
LIBGEN.
There it is.
Yes,
that's the one.
No, it was actually it's odd to navigate a little bit, but there are multiple mirrors. Like, if you find one book, you can download it from multiple places.
Where do you think you put it, Greg?
Where'd you put it, Greg?
Oh, it's right here. It's my subheadline. Is that not showing to everybody?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
no, I thought you were putting it in comments.
I thought you were putting it in private chat.
It's really tiny on my screen.
Here we go. There you can see it. Libgen.is.
Smile. It's sort of like the Sci-Hub of books.
Yeah.
Okay,
very
cool.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay, what else? We can do current events.
The OpenSea. Right? Yeah. Oh, well, maybe that's a question.
Oh, OpenSea. Yeah, that's
what?
The SEC. Oh, Gary. Yeah, he has determined that NFTs are, because he thinks he's a lawmaker. He's determined that NFTs are now securities. He's next going after Girl Scouts and cookies. I'm not really sure.
Okay, everybody on OpenSea, move your stuff to Zano. You got privatized tokenization over there at Zano, and you know what? To the government.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. I don't understand it.
We don't need them. There's no solutions that come out of
Oh, look
DC.
at this.
This guy's
Mhm.
post
This is
said,
awesome.
yes, he came up with some great kickback, and he said,
That is great.
fun fact, in 1976, the SEC ruled that art galleries, even when promoting and selling to buyers that had investment motives, did not need to register with the SEC.
Wonder why that
Mhm.
is. Wonder what clientele.
Well,
Uh,
okay, so
able to
here's the thing
convince
that
the
drives me
SEC
nuts.
that
The
they didn't
same
need to do
ones that ship children
Bankers.
in little cardboard
Fungibility
boxes.
to me is the
For
key to this
parties.
thing being ridiculous,
Yeah.
right? Like, if you want to talk about some other similar creatures, if you want to talk about things that look just like non-fungible securities, then we can talk about flightless aircraft, or maybe food safe poison. These are other similar concepts. It's a ridiculous contradiction in terms. You can't have a thing that is not fungible
That is why
also be a securitized interest
our
in
method,
some right under contract. They have to be fungible for them to make sense.
our method of governance is broken beyond
Yes.
repair. It just needs to be collapsed and stuff because this is so ridiculous. And
I mean,
I
you should
remember
get
when the
chevroned
SEC
out of the
came after
room,
me.
basically.
When the SEC came after Dragon Chain, do you know how freaking crazy it is that relatives is like, well, did you break the law? And I'm like, why don't you fucking read? Why don't you pick up a goddamn book and read what the fuck is going on in your world, because it's
Mhm.
collapsing all around you, and
Right.
you're just you're going
Watching football.
watching
They
football.
just, no, they're just culling an entire strain of entrepreneurship on purpose, because they don't want things developing that they don't control. That's what's going on.
You see what I'm saying, though? It is people. Well, there's no honor, so the people in government have no honor, so you can't trust them. Yet the other people still act like it's oh, it's either I don't care or everybody's corrupt. In which case it's just so ridiculous. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The cries to regulate crypto were just that. It was just like
Other
everybody
than
saying, "Let's stop
vote-
this before it gets
Vote
started."
Kamala and let's just
Hasten
bring
the
this shit down.
collapse.
Yes,
Well, at least the conversation being held now instead of being dragged out. That's
Good point,
more
Andrew.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I gotta say is, like, everybody took a bite of that apple, and and the chaos ensued. Going to biblical proportions. So that's all it is. So we want to be so knowledgeable about everything that we're trying to restrict it from ourselves. So we're just constantly infighting, and in reality, we should just be trying to live and survive and ignoring what somebody else is trying to do against you and your neighbor to control them. Nobody should control anybody.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
that's how I look at the Genesis creation story. Really, is that's what God was saying. Is like, don't take. This is the only rule I have you do. Don't eat that apple, because then you're going to be at each other's throats, pretty much. And that's what we're at. Look at us in 2024. We're at each other's throats.
Yeah.
Was it neighbor's apple?
What I wonder is if maybe it's always been that way, and we can just see it really clearly now because we have better documentation.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Well, that was why the
Could be.
banishment from the Garden of Eden, right? Was because they partook of the apple. So then,
knowledge.
I don't. But I guess the real issue here is having knowledge it can create great sorrow, right? It's a heavy burden, and I think those that are red pilled, and I'm talking in the matrix point of view of being red pilled.
I mean, like
it's difficult. It's
mold bug sense of the term, right?
It creates a hardship in life. I can attest to that. I mean, I believe that our country is lost. It's gone. I've grieved, and I still am grieving. I go through stages of anger. I go through stages of deep sorrow for the loss of country, and the loss of the principles, the ideas of the Bill of Rights that are dead in DC and around the world, that we're not that light on the hill, that we're not. It hurts. It's painful. It creates depression. It's all of those things. It's then the next question is, okay, when you get to the point of acceptance, what are you going to do about it? How can you lead a march back to some of those principles of free speech and the solid, no illegal search and seizure, privacy, all of those things. What do you do? Well, I choose crypto. I choose to go down the world of cryptocurrencies and tout their existence and teach and explain why they're important. And that's I guess my line of defense, as well as my reason to exist, I guess, in some respect, is that pushback.
Yeah.
Well, it reminds me of philosophy called jouissance, is where you go beyond the pleasure principle and enter a world of pain. It's a fallen world, and you can't. It's like in computer hardware. Once you burn a virtual core fuse on a CPU, you can't revert back to the way things were. So,
yeah, true.
Yep.
We can, however, recover historic patterns that were more healthy if we need to, right? That's in software, you call that rolling back to a previous revision, right? Like you have a bug, you don't want it in your production software, so you take down the current version and you redeploy the one without the bug in it. I think we need to be free to debug society and not be accused of looking backwards,
Mm.
Well, there's another topic for discussion, I guess. The JFK addition to the Trump campaign.
RFK.
I'm sorry, RFK, as well as the poll data,
Tulsi.
which is fake, and Tulsi. Yeah, but again, I got a feeling that if the plane is still flying, then it's still going towards a mountain, and one person might be pulling up on it, but the mountain might be too over. I'm a little bit black-pilled on that. So is it rip off the Band-Aid and vote for Harris, or is it don't vote at all, or is it vote for Trump to try to prolong what we're going through right now?
Well, I mean, the odds of one vote even mattering, though, are much lower than the odds of dying in a car accident on your way to the polls. You really shouldn't do that. Like, it's for the good of your family.
I have to agree with you. My vote can be tracked. I say it over and over. My vote cannot be tracked. I can't verify my vote. I can't verify that all the votes were properly counted. It's and we have a solution for it, but governments will not enact that.
There was a law that was just passed, and I can't remember which state, that is trying to correct things. I mean, I'm not saying it's a perfect fix, but they are saying that they have to validate or somehow match up the number of votes going in and the number of votes counted. And I can't remember which state it was. That just happened.
Arizona, I think.
I can't find. Was it Arizona? Okay.
I think.
Yeah, it's all fixed. It's all fixed. I think it's obvious it has been fixed for a very long time as well, and
since the beginning of the republic.
Yeah,
people call it a coup.
And seriously, fatal car accidents avoid.
People call it a coup of 2020. I think there was a coup in 1913. There was a coup in Dealey Plaza in 1963. There's been, or were they coups to keep it off track, so we didn't get back on track.
Yeah, there was a coup in 1787.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
oh gosh.
Which was extended in 1861. So that was just two-parter of the Constitutional Convention. So,
yeah. Do you think that things would have been better had they introduced the revise every 10 years clause?
Say that again.
So Jefferson had this idea to integrate a clause that said every 10 years this convention needs to be reheld.
That would be brilliant. I think they do it for every law. If a law isn't reinstituted it, it phases out, and there's no way constitutionally every law will go away unless it's actively reinstituted.
It could have also accelerated things and gotten us here faster.
That's a great rebuild.
That's true.
That's a great rebuild, Joe. I think that's what we need to frame everything. We need to frame everything in after the collapse, how we're going to rebuild it.
Yeah, we should have a whole show on that.
Yeah.
I've got some ideas actually. You guys would like my idea of a single decision length term in office for a randomly selected, basically absolute monarch. Right. Each person would have one randomly selected chance to make every official decision unilaterally.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
But you only get one decision, and then you're replaced by the next guy.
The funny thing to me is
that
the governance exists, the ability to track the decision exists. Yet, the biggest thing that is the thing that you always hear was like reform. This is how we do it. It's random. We'll just pick somebody random, and I'm like, okay, it'd be better than what we have, sure. But it's still.
Well, we'd certainly have to strip out a lot of the powers, but we could probably make it safe to do.
Yeah, but why would you do it? That's why. Why is that the thing?
Well, to force the stripping out of all the powers to make it safe.
The problem is with that, Greg, is you never know. Randomly, you're going to pick some kind of pedophile that's going to be in charge for a day, or you're going to have some kind of gangbanger.
One decision,
or you're going to have some kind of even a one decision can be horrible. Or
we already have that
kind of psychopath. Of course, we already have psychopaths that are there.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
We already have psychopaths, pedophiles.
That's a prerequisite.
Yeah, at least we would have, like right now we have a mechanism that draws those reliably while excluding everybody else. At least we'd be including everybody else in the new system.
Well, I mean, one thing would be to actually, try some people for treason. That would be a good one, right?
And we waste less money on campaign ads too.
Jury by your peers. I'll never have if I'm ever brought to court for something, I'm never going to have a jury by my peers, because my peers are all going to be agorists and anarchists and those are my peers.
There's the peers that we define.
Why can't it be deported?
What's that?
Yeah, they're all going to be murdered.
I think exile should always be a free choice for any criminal. You should be able to choose exile or whatever sentence.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of a jury would work if you actually held to the concept of jury nullification, but we're so stuck in the ways of like what we're told on a narrative that you're never going to find a true jury of your peers to nullify certain alternatives or cases.
Really, judges ought to be required to put an instruction on jury nullification in every set of jury instructions.
Yeah, that's been that'd be a reasonable reform, right?
And then, I mean, it's hard to do now when you have both your defense attorney in the during trial and your prosecution being able to select and choose who they want on their jury panel. So, like, how are you supposed to nullify if they get to choose what or whom is the best juror for their argument? So, and then it just becomes just a conundrum.
Right. And the alternative, of course, is, if you want to be a person who keeps one's oath, right. And you don't want to sit there and pretend that you don't understand jury nullification so you can infest the jury room with the idea as soon as the doors close. Then maybe what they're doing it by making it so that you can be eliminated from the pool is actually the problem, right? Like they let you turn a blind eye, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty scary too, because we have such. How can I say it? Goodness.
Someone needs to make that into a video game.
That would be that'd be a decent game.
I have a question. I don't know if any of you guys have military. Well, you've got some military experience.
I wasn't actually in the military. But your family and wife.
Yes. So recently, Trump spoke in front of the National Guard, which I thought was very odd for someone who's not the president, supposedly. And then he went to Arlington. Was it Arlington Cemetery, I believe? And the army has just issued like a statement about it and said that like they told everyone that that's not to be used as a political theater. You know, that's where our soldiers are honored and buried. And so this army issued this rebuke over the Trump using the incident on Monday at Arlington National Cemetery. I'm curious what everyone's thoughts are on that, because that's, you know, supposedly it just seemed like I didn't understand why he was speaking in front of National Guard. I thought that was not appropriate if he's not actually the president or commander in chief, which some believe he is. And then for the whole incident at Arlington, to risk, you know, if publicly they are saying that Biden is the president and Trump isn't, why would he do that?
To answer your question, I think it goes back to the individual who has served or hasn't served. I think they're going to see it through their lens of either politics or not politics. It was an act of honoring those who had fallen, or what, and someone else is going to see it through their lens as, oh, this was a political stunt and it's horrific and grandstanding, etc. And so I think I don't think the commander of whatever group that was that said, you will attend this speech, you will be here, you know, I don't think it was mandatory that they be present for Trump's speech. I would think that that's the case, but
you would imagine it would be voluntary, right?
Right. I would think it would be voluntary, and there are some that are anti-Trump that still wanted to attend just so that they could see it and watch it. And
I understand bringing attention to the day. I mean, if that was the most significant, you know, pull-out anniversary of the, you know, of a failed exit from Afghanistan, and 13 of our Marines lost their lives. I mean, so I understand that, but I just really was, I don't know. I was really questioning some of that.
I think there's something specific in this case, though, that makes a difference, right? The fact that the exit and the end of the Trump presidency, where, you know, he was simultaneously removed from office and all the social media platforms, you know, to a certain degree, the National Guard as a branch of military service was called into question with respect to whether or not they were asked to come stop riots that somebody predicted or not, or if they were ordered in or not. They have kind of a fractured relationship, Donald Trump and the National Guard. And I can see why talking to them directly wouldn't normally be appropriate, but I think given the history, it kind of makes sense to be something worth doing, worth tolerating as a variation from the norm, because I don't think it fits sort of the standard let's pose a whole bunch of military saluting me type of strongman fascism that people are worried about when they have norms like that. I think this is more personal.
Right. I mean, I can't really speak for my wife, but, you know, she served in Iraq and saw horrible things and experienced horrible things. And she is so apolitical that to a point where she doesn't want to know, you know, because I think it creates too much pain. I went there for what reason? I don't want to dwell on that. I don't want to dwell on the loss of life that I witnessed. So I'd rather stay apolitical. And anything that comes up when we're watching TV, we're watching something, and maybe it has a little a picture of, say, some kind of desert type warfare, she's muting the TV, turning her head, fast forwarding it. You know, she doesn't want to view it, and I respect that. She doesn't want to watch it. She doesn't want to see it because it's a trigger to her, you know.
Right, but the DC one in particular too, right? You got to remember that these guys were stationed around the Capitol with orders to shoot on sight if they saw any of his supporters coming. You know, like that was literally the last the last major interaction that Donald Trump had vis-a-vis the National Guard with the Biden administration officially, right? Like their response to that whole thing was to literally put the National Guard up around barbed wire barricades and have them watch for Trump supporters.
For white people, yeah.
This is insanity. So I can see why you would want to do a person. I guess the personal address makes sense to me. Like these guys have a little bit of hatchets buried.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a banana republic.
Yeah,
it does.
And
doesn't it?
Battle,
Yeah.
Coming.
Sure. One last comment, and not saying
there's anything noble or ignoble about it.
One last comment of anything for my wife too. She links her cancer directly to her time in Iraq, so this is a daily fight and a daily struggle to try to suppress anything that has to do with Iraq, because it is her personal, battle to fight her cancer that she believes, and that the VA has deemed that it was a result of her time in Iraq. So,
like the burn pits and stuff.
Yes.
Is it related to the burn pits?
Yes. So
Jesus Christ.
So I can see both sides of it, that he shouldn't have been there, and I can see the other side of it. Let's honor those who had fallen. So
yeah.
I don't have a dog in the fight, to be honest with you. I believe that if there was some kind of way that was legal in the Constitution to do a referendum in all 50 states, I think the 50 states would overwhelmingly vote. The people within the 50 states would overwhelmingly vote to secede from DC, and DC would be ostracized and expelled from the Union. I
would be awesome.
Believe that in my heart of hearts, that if that were put to a vote, the elites in DC would be gone, because the Constitution is dead in DC.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is probably ultimately, by the way, a distraction in all likelihood. This particular narrative thrust is something they'd rather have us paying attention to than plans to dial back the administrative state seriously.
Yep, that's what it's all about.
Sort of like bringing up a dispute over pronouns in a sentence. Make sure you never think about what the sentence said, kind of thing.
Content versus
Spooner.
context.
Yeah. Spooner question for everybody: is the Constitution actually dead in DC, or is it working as intended?
100% dead.
Dead in DC or dead everywhere?
Dead in DC and dead nearly everywhere.
I don't think it's working as intended.
We can't even agree on the Second Amendment.
But it is working as it was designed.
I think the Constitution is working. The Bill of Rights are kind of thrown in the garbage.
It's possible those were always there to placate everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it was a concept.
Setting up an original hypocrisy as opposed to ever being a serious intention to do so, right? Like we had free speech, and then we had the Espionage Act how many years later? The whole thing, I mean, most of the decisions undermining it are based on things decided in the 1800s, right? Like we literally have had a contradiction between word and deed in our founding documents for a long damn time now. I think maybe that is not what was intended per se, but I think that the founders were still around for long enough that they could see the dynamic emerging and do nothing to stop it. Whether they could do anything to stop it, or they thought this will at least be sustainable, and we did our best.
Look at how many of them have absolute quotes about bankers being more dangerous than standing armies. Right.
I mean, we have retired 3 Federal Reserves before, right? Like this would be the 4th one. Same thing happens every time. Now we know. We tried the 4th time, and it's the same.
One,
literally, they shut it down for the same reason each previous time.
Yep. But this one, though, has gotten much bigger than the other ones. I mean, the world is different, but I mean, it's so much more powerful now than.
Thanks, computers, right?
They learned how to scale.
They learned how to kill presidents.
Yeah,
they do.
Yep. They learned how to scale, and we learned how to trip over self-similarity at scale.
Yep. Man.
Yeah. The other point I was going to say is, if the CIA was involved in the creation of Bitcoin, maybe they were looking for another way to create a black. Well, their black budget is always bloated, but they always need more, and maybe that's why they wanted to create Bitcoin, was to add to their black budget.
Yeah,
I bet you the reason they came up with it, if they did have a reason at all, beyond can this be done, was probably something banal that they didn't achieve. Like they set out to do something, and they did another thing, and it ended up being this. But their purpose was entirely different. Like with Tor Network, it was never meant to become what it was. Dragon Chain itself was once in the hands of Disney, right?
Yeah. They barely understood it.
Interesting fun fact. Thomas Jefferson, two things I think of note. He believed his greatest achievement in life was the creation of the Virginia Constitution that allowed for the freedom of religion. That's what he believed was his
allowed for the
yes
freedom of religion.
He created, or he helped write and get passed in the state of Virginia, the nation state of Virginia, the right for freedom of religion. And that's what, that above his involvement in the U.S. Constitution, or the third president of the United States, he believed that was his biggest accomplishment and that he was most proud of. The other thing that was interesting that I just learned recently is he was fascinated with ancient Greek, and I'll just leave it at that. He was a deist.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like too, when you say freedom of religion, you almost have to take it to the original philosopher's level and go, what really is this? What were they trying to get at? And I think it's people. It's just my own personal people who are recognizing the fact that human beings are characterized by their ability to have a sense of their own dignity, and it's that from which the impulse to believe in something emerges, and you can't control what people do with that. It's sort of an inalienable right in the same way.
You can if
is.
you encourage
you can
them
decree
to believe their
silence,
religion.
but you can't really take it away.
What was that, Lisa?
You can if you once again, it's like the Bitcoin thing. Problem solution. How do you get people off of a submarine? All that kind of thing. If you push them to say, oh, you need a religion because you aren't capable of knowing what's right or wrong. You need to be another way of lording over is this organized religion, and it pushes them into that mind trap of
right. And I wasn't saying religion. I
rules.
was saying belief in something.
Oh,
I know it's a fine hair distinction, but I mean to exclude the part where there's an organizational structure around it.
the legalism and all of that.
There could be if
I don't
they
think that
decide
was
to
their
build
intent.
one, but they don't have to. People just believe
But
what they believe.
But why do people need someone to tell them that they have freedom to believe what they believe?
It's more like you need to tell people not to impinge on it, I think. Because there are people whose beliefs compel them to convert believers by force.
Yeah. And
I don't know. It would be fascinating to create a religion that was 100% peaceful in nature, and that believed that any kind of funds or taxation that went to war was a sin. And because we have the freedom of religion, it would be fascinating how that would play out. Unfortunately, that has been played out in our courts already and failed for the religious types in the United States. I just would like to point that out. I'm not advocating anything of this nature. I'm only suggesting it would be interesting because remember, it's the power of numbers, right? It's the power of we hold, like we talked in one of Lisa's shows, we actually hold the needle to the everything bubble. We, the people, outnumber them, and it's a choice to pop it or not pop it, and we outnumber them. So that's why they don't want to listen to us anymore, and they don't listen.
Right.
To us.
what's it like? 11% causes a preference cascade. Like once you hit 11%, it starts to accelerate, and more people tend to shift perspectives on things really fast.
Right.
It's like really slow for the first 11%, and then really fast.
Yep.
Divide and conquer. Maybe that's why they want multiple religions, to keep us divided as well.
Well, or they're just people who believe weird stuff, and it's a side effect of permitting the freedom of it that some people are loud about how weird they are. Like people who want to worship the state, for example, they're a vocal minority, and the fact that they've seized power by shouting is them affirming their beliefs, right? Like we just need to be aware of the fact that people will try to game the restriction.
Right. Multiculturalism, not assimilating within a new country. These are ways of division and ways of control.
Yep.
When are we starting that crypto religion, William?
Yeah, we really need to do that. I played along. I played with it on ChatGPT as a few months ago to create, and then I wanted case law because I wanted to find out what case laws had failed.
Needs to be based in Discordianism, I think.
This is interesting. It's a foundation story though, because it's like, Muhammad had what? Michael come and tell him he had to write down what he was gonna say. Various others, and here ChatGPT is speaking from the beyond to William to get us the basis for a religion. Oh boy!
Wait, is Bitcoin maximalism a religion?
Yes,
I think it is.
Yeah,
mental illness. I think.
Yeah, that too. The mental illness. Isn't religion a mental illness, really? Organization.
I saw an interesting piece of anti-crypto FUD come out the other day, guys. The University of Toronto, in collaboration with two researchers from the University of Miami, who specialize in giving seminars to mainstream media trainees on how to spot toxic misinformation and among conspiracy theorizing.
Anything coming out of Canada, Greg's got to
these guys created a research paper that demonstrates that most people involved in crypto meet the dark triad characteristics of psychopathy. So they've gone ahead and medicalized the ownership of crypto to characterize us all as psychopaths.
Oh my goodness!
We're
it's a pretty neat piece of fun.
They're sociopaths.
It's a really sophisticated, expensive ad hominem attack.
Yes,
I have my my Canadian meme content at the ready. It took a bit to find it, but there we go.
Which University of Miami was it that worked with Toronto?
I think it was literally the University of Miami.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Canadian therapy. I do your own research, but encourage the investment in rope futures.
Yes, rope futures.
Well, in Canada too, that's political play has history, right? Because that's what they did to Jordan Peterson about the pronouns right before they disbarred him from his profession.
Well, now he's got to go through that course. He lost his appeals. He has to go through the course, the training course.
Who does?
Yeah,
Jordan Peterson.
He has to be re-educated.
Jordan Peterson, oh brother. Yeah, something I will tell you. Something happened to him, and it's pretty demarcated in time. I don't know what happened to him, but something happened to him.
It was probably them taking away his license.
Probably.
They kicked him out of the club, man.
Yeah, it was probably joining the Daily Wire.
Daily Wire, that's where I was going with it. You're right, Zach.
That guy was in the club and they defenestrated him.
Yeah.
He was pissed.
Yeah.
He had to go to the little boy's house for the club. He's still in the club. He's just at the kids' table now.
I think they forced him into that part of the club.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, now though with Pavel, he's maybe in the arrest in a different country so that you can get rid of club.
Yeah.
Well, the question too with Pavel is, okay, they went for him. When are they going to come for us? And who's going to help us get out? I don't think the UAE is going to help me get out. And I'm certainly not going to get like a set jury by my peers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How long is it until it doesn't matter what country you're a citizen of? They'll just come and arrest you just because they
Well,
they
yeah.
want to.
Just don't get on the train car, like no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm already gonna write that down. Don't get on
the new train
car.
car is going to be Uber.
Like if you're gonna fight, that's the last chance.
Man.
So if it's an Uber, take the Lyft. It's cheaper.
Well, I mean, or maybe
Not by much.
Oh, that's
maybe
I would.
driving
There's
cars
something
don't
to
get
say.
in because they
When-
can change the destination.
Here's the thing that is most interesting about modern tech, and you can look at the same thing with Google Home stuff and with what's the Amazon one,
Alexa.
Alexa.
Mhm,
That
Alexa.
when they come for us and they take us in cattle cars to the camps, we're gonna pay our own way. I guarantee you, they're gonna make us pay. It will actually be Uber. Your Uber will come.
Yeah.
They're gonna take you to the camp. Just follow along.
Right.
Well, your Uber's driver's
When
name.
you get there,
is
they'll give you a free donut.
blue Hyundai.
That's right.
What's that?
Big smile. Everyone's
Your
happy.
Uber driver's name is Rudolph Hess.
Fauci. I think it's Fauci. Mine was going to be Fauci. You know what's sad is I know Soros's grandchildren are going to be raiding my OpenSea NFT collection.
You think? Oh,
Dude,
brother.
I think they're trying to set the NFTs up as a model system through which to implement a wealth tax. Personally,
Mm.
By the way, everyone worries about
Would make
Soros
sense.
being so evil and that kind of thing. It's like, wake up, people! Hello, he's like CIA. That's why. It's
right? Like the
he acts
CBDC of
so
OpenSea is a wealth tax.
Is he CIA or just a straight up Nazi?
Yeah, both.
Operation Paperclip, everybody.
Yep.
Ongoing.
Ongoing, exactly.
Same with MK Ultra, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's where they learned all of the fundamental properties they needed to know in order to build the information weapons they're using on us now.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could channel Ted Kaczynski
Oh, in what way?
in creation of a new religion.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's probably too obscure of a reference for the YouTube filters to catch.
Well, yeah, that's actually an interesting consideration. If he had written his manifesto in the form of fiction and moved to California, he could have started his own religion and would have been fine, right?
Oh yeah, no. Honestly, it would have
Could've
been
been a
brilliant as a
sitcom.
work of fiction.
I'm just comparing it to
Very, very
different
Kafkaesque.
religion.
It would have been a different. It would have been a kind of Amish type religion.
Yeah, well,
It was
yeah, I guess so.
anti tech, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mennonites
Yeah.
and Amish.
Yeah.
And, yep.
Really, just kind of more like the militarized wing.
The Amish Mafia.
It's their.
That's what
who are
he
the
should-
folks? Who are the folks that run around and sort of act as vigilante enforcers of strict Islam, strict Sharia in countries that adopt that practice? What are those guys called?
The
Like in Saudi Arabia, if you get caught driving and you're a woman, or did they get rid of that? I don't know.
No, they got rid of that.
the moral police.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, they're
exactly.
just called the moral police. I don't know what it's called in Arabic, but it's the moral police.
Oh, it would be fantastic. We could just.
I'm
Did
going
they
to
get-
really screw with the archaeologists in the future. Everyone, remember Saint Kaczynski?
Oh my God.
Who?
I'm off. He's the patron
Didn't
saint
didn't
of,
lightning strike? Didn't lightning strike the guy who created the Olympics choreography or whatever? I'd
Really?
be very careful to go outside. I am.
Okay. I'll be careful. I'll be careful.
Be careful.
HARP is real, everybody.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised they didn't shock the shit out of that person who did it was the Australian woman who showed up for the breakdancing ring.
Ray
And
gun.
just ray gun, yeah. Was that one?
Yeah.
That would merit a lightning strike.
Some of you that are old enough can remember Elaine dancing on Seinfeld.
Yes.
Someone needs to do a meme of those two competing.
I think there was one. I think I've seen
Was
that.
there?
I think I have it. I take a bit
That's
to
a
find
deep
it.
cut.
Yeah.
Oh shoot!
That's funny.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, speaking of it, I forgot to remind the guy watching over at SEC, monitoring the show for little bits and pieces of information, that this week's memes contain an especially important encoded message. So I hope you've been writing them all down.
Yeah.
Yes. The order is important.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's all choreographed too. We're all in on it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you kind of map it out and you think of a Harris victory and what that does for 2025, and you map that out, it's pretty scary and dark for the next 4 years, right?
Well, she won't know
isn't
which
that
country
inevitable?
she's going to war with.
Oh, look at
But
this.
it's
meme.
inevitable.
Look at
There
this.
you
This
go.
is hi, I didn't even plan that.
Oh my God.
You know, the creepy thing is live streaming shows look a lot like chargeable conspiracies in a world without free speech.
Oh yeah. Man. Imagine what country you're in and everything. Do you remember during the lockdowns, there was a German dude that was arrested live on his podcast for talking about. You remember that? I can't remember his
Yes,
name.
I remember that. He was doing a scientific presentation regarding mRNA vaccinations and
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh, here's a
Someone really
Reddit.
did that last one.
I
I
love
want to
Reddit.
see that hung somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
inoperable.
I've tried to convince a few artists to do some of the to do actual remakes of the what do you call it, the when they make something look like something else. What's the AI tool that does
Replica.
that?
You're talking about
Stable
oh.
diffusion.
Yeah,
Stable diffusion stuff. Like there's some really good ones, and I've tried to get some artists to actually recreate that, but in actual painting. I've not been successful yet.
I actually found a decent open source uncensored app that's on both Android and iOS that lets you locally run an image gen of your choosing. It's pretty close. It's pretty slick.
What's it called?
It's called actually, let me pull it up. It's probably a good thing to tell people about. Holy crap. It's called Sogni, SOGNI. I'm gonna put it in my footer.
Sogni.
And it's
It's on
an app on
Android?
Android.
Yeah, both. And PC, like if you want to just run it in a browser. They also have a Mac app if you're into that sort of thing.
Check it out. You always got good URLs.
There we go. Now it's in my footer.
Yeah.
Right on.
Nice.
Making use of the
What the footer's for. All right, so we have 11 and a half minutes left. What do you guys
Yeah,
wanna
let's
close
do our
out?
outros.
Let's do the close out. I'll remove
You got your thing coming up, Joe.
yeah,
Dracaria.
so let's go to Andrew. I'll go straight down the list here. What is going on in your world that people need to pay attention to this week?
Nothing in particular. I'm, just going a week at a time here. So I'm trying to find an alternative to Telegram since it's probably been compromised. That's my big project for right now.
I do have one of those too. If anybody wants to know it, a decentralized direct, like instant messaging platform that works pretty much the same way.
That's not Signal.
No, it's not Signal. This is a newer one. See if I can actually find it. Shit, I'm winning on the app recommendations today. This one's built totally decentralized, like it's cypherpunk approved.
Where are the people that built it?
It's called Session, is what it's called.
Oh, I've heard of it. Yeah.
I've heard of that.
And it essentially just uses pseudo anonymous public-private key pairs to serve as temporary phone numbers for different conversations. So you can link up with somebody via a generative key, give them your public key, and the chat is encrypted by the same algorithm that you use to generate the address.
Shout out to
That's-
Dave. I think Dave mentioned Session a long time ago.
Yeah, I think
He was
so. I
on.
think that's who
Yep.
I've heard it from. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's a winner,
That's
and it
a-
does voice calls too, so you don't have to sacrifice that.
Yeah.
And it
That's-
has
Or
an
voice
app
and
in
video,
the App
really.
Store.
It's like the whole thing.
It has an app in the App Store, though. It's not really.
It does. It
Yeah,
escapes.
somebody has to have registered for it to be in the App Store and stuff. Anyway, that's just for another time.
Well, yeah, I
It's
mean,
like,
your
let's-
privacy is always concurrent upon your stack. But if you want to get, I mean, you can side load it on Android too,
That's
and nobody
true.
will know. But
I am for I am. What's going on this week?
Well, first and foremost, the show. Appreciate everyone's input today and those watching and chat and all that good stuff. Also, I think we just talked about community notes on X, and I would argue that din.social does it better. Does a better job at and incentivizing human behavior to find what is malinformation, misinformation, what is truth, what isn't. And so I encourage everyone to go to din.social. You can find me there. Find me on X as well. But shout out also to Lisa, like Queen Lisa. We did a show this past Monday on eGold, which was kind of like the first tokenization of gold as an asset pre-crypto. And I encourage you to go take a look at that show this past Monday. It was fun. It was a great experiment because I looked into that because of my fascination with Xano and its ability for privatization, private tokens on the blockchain, and I really like it. And that's actually something that I'm kind of working on. I'm gonna talk to you folks later offline, or send you a draft of a white paper I'm working on now. For
Nice.
tokenization of an asset.
That's awesome.
Nice. Should we move all Matter tokens over to Xano or something like that? or-
Maybe, I don't know.
Why-
We're
Why
going to
would we
talk
do
about
that?
that. Especially with OpenSea, right? What's going on
Yeah.
with OpenSea?
Yeah. Zach, what's up?
Just try to stay busy. So that's all I gotta say to everybody is just try to stay busy in this chaotic, insane world. So every week we try to release something new on the Legacy Right, and everything that we've been talking about today. I mean, on here has been very informative, and I like the different various perspectives that we can all give each other and get out to the world, because it needs to be heard. So
That's true. That's very true. Lisa, what's up?
Yes. So I had a great show with I Am this week. Had a great show with Sean on Tuesday. Having a great show now with you guys, and great to meet both Andrew and Zach as well. I'm really curious to go check their channel out, The Legacy Right. And there is a dossier that's been put together by the very community, token holders, different people in the that really put together. It's really a lot of things very similar to what happened in Debtbox. And I would just encourage people to join the very official Telegram room and look into that and read it for yourself and see what you think of it, and how this overreach and lawfare that's been applied to, stifle innovation in America and harm we the people. Maybe we can do something about it if we all get together, but we have to educate ourselves about it first. So,
And that's in the World Blockchain Roundtable Telegram.
No, it's in, I can forward a link to that, but it's in the very official.
Oh,
if you look up VERI official Telegram, and they'll have it pinned in the pinned post.
Okay. Excellent. Greg, what's up this week?
So I want to take a moment to just call everybody's attention who's listening to the situation in the United States with Storm, or United States v. Storm. It's Roman Storm, the US-based developer of Tornado Cash. This case is the one where the financial enforcement division of the sort of external-facing financial weapon, right? The people who are tasked with enforcing sanctions, have listed a piece of open source software operating at an Ethereum address as a person who, if you do business with it, now that it's on that list, is an automatic, strict liability, no questions asked, 20 years in prison. This is a federal crime that you cannot avoid committing if you do. Anyone who interacts with Tornado Cash address is instantly guilty, regardless of motive. This case is pinioned upon also punishing the developer who wrote it. And if this happens, if it proceeds and he is successfully prosecuted, which his case is December 4th, then that's going to essentially allow the United States free reign with this strategy. Any open source software it wants to outlaw, it can list as a person and then punish the developers. The situation needs to be remedied, and the problem is Roman Storm's defense is behind $2 million in paying for itself. People need to contribute to this guy's thing right now. So if you really want to make a difference and fight the good fight, this is a very literal first step one can take.
Sure.
Very good. Very good. For me, I'm going to be on here. I'll show you real quick because I'll make sure I get the time zone right. Today at 1:30 Eastern U.S. time, a Dracaria AMA, where we're going to basically start doing this every week to walk through, so it'll be a little more dynamic and people can ask questions about what the individual capabilities are and the vision of today is the first episode is vision, right? So what's Dracaria about? And I don't know if it'll be 30 minutes. I don't know if it'll be an hour. Kind of depends on how it goes. So and we're going to do this every week, and we're going to give away a gateway key, which is the only way that you can get a primal dragon egg in the Genesis season. So the very first season, the only way you can get one of those eggs is with a gateway key. The seasons after, you'll be able to pay a spawn fee and do it, but that is today in like 25 minutes or something like that. So if you can join that, and it's at Dracaria World on X. So that's it. All right. So we're done here, right? We have 3 minutes to spare. Thanks a bunch, guys. That was very good. Very good.
Appreciate you having us on.
Oh yeah.
Cheers.
Anytime you guys want to just
come
pop
back.
in. Yeah. Even if you're late, it's all good. Might make it more fun. See you guys.
America's not the government, people. The America is you. It is the Grand fucking Canyon, the Rocky Mountains, the deserts of the Southwest, the Pacific fucking Ocean, the Atlantic fucking Ocean. It is the grandest continent. And what the fuck have you people done? You have turned yourself into sheep, every goddamn one of you.